It's the Mixed Martial Arts Hour with
The Mixed Martial Arts Hour back in your life on this Monday, June 13th, 2016. Hello again, everyone. I'm Ariel Helwani inside our New York City studio. It is so very good to be back. And I mean that in a couple of ways, by the way. Great to be back doing this show. Great to be back after last week's craziness. And of course, we will get into that, I promise you. But it's great to be back doing a normal show. And as you know, I've said this before, when I feel like I've let you down, when I've felt like, all right, I left you hanging for whatever reason, I like to come back with a 1-2. I like to come back with a super stack show, and I think that we've done that on this particular Monday. Now, before I move along, I just want to say off the top that on a Monday like this, sports feels very irrelevant and unimportant, and I just wanted to say to the great people in Orlando that our thoughts are with you, and my heart is broken for you, and there's really nothing that you can say, but I felt like it's necessary to say that off the top of the show. So tragic and senseless what transpired early Sunday morning. So we are thinking about you, and certainly will not forget what happened yesterday morning in Orlando. Of course, last week was a surreal week for myself, and in around 2 hours or so, in the third hour, I'll give you a postscript as to what happened. I'll give you some background. I'll tell you about the rest of the week. In the interest of full disclosure, in the interest of telling it like it is, I feel like I owe that to you. So I will discuss what happened last week with everything that happened with UFC 199, all that stuff a little later on. But the best way to move on, the best way to keep doing what we do is to do a great show. And I'm very excited to get back to where we should have been last Monday and to get back to interviewing the great fighters in this sport. And boy, am I excited about this week's show. I am so pumped about this week's show. What a lineup we have. So let's run into it. And like I said, a little later on, I'll give you more information about what happened after last week's show. And I do feel like I have to just say right off the top, a huge thank you to all of you out there. You know who you are. Every single one of you who wrote and tweeted and emailed and called. I mean, it's still mind-blowing to me. I owe my career to you, and well, I will work for the rest of my career to repay you for what you did for me and my family last week. So thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts. I will never forget what you guys did for me. Okay, let us move along. 4:15, we'll be joined by Mark Hunt. Of course, you know by now that he'll be facing Canada's own Brock Lesnar at UFC 200. How about that? Yes, in fact, he will be wearing the Canadian kit, as crazy as that sounds. At around 3:55, we're going to be joined by Fyodor Emelianenko. Yes, Fyodor Emelianenko, who fights this Friday, EFN 50 against Fabio Maldonado. He'll be joining us at 3:55. 3:05, the brand new UFC middleweight champion, Michael Bisping, will be joining us at 3:05 to talk about becoming the new middleweight champion of the UFC. 2:45, we'll be talking to Dominic Cruz. You know, I didn't get to interview Dominic Cruz and Michael Bisping at the end of UFC 199, so I felt like it would be only fitting to talk to them this week and get their thoughts on their big wins, in particular Michael Bisping. So 2:45, we'll be joined by Dominic Cruz. 3:05, we'll be joined by Michael Bisping. 2:25, we'll talk to Josh Barnett. He has a big fight coming up against Andrei Arlovski. At 2:05, we'll talk to Jared Shaw. Horrendous news late Monday night. Kimbo Slice, the great Kimbo Slice, the iconic Kimbo Slice, the trailblazer Kimbo Slice, tragically passed away. We'll talk to his good friend Jared Shaw at 2:05. In fact, today is Kimbo Slice's funeral, and I think it just wrapped up, so we'll talk to him. Jared was there. 1:45, we'll talk to Quinton Jackson about his Bellator fight against Satoshi Ishii. 1:25, we'll talk to Frankie Edgar about his fight at UFC 200 against Jose Aldo. In a matter of minutes, we're going to be joined by Daniel Cormier. New York Rick is connecting with him. Do we have him, New York Rick? Okay. In a matter of moments, we'll be joined by Daniel Cormier, who is, in fact, in New York City doing a media tour. Yesterday was a very big day for Daniel Cormier, the reigning defending UFC light heavyweight champion. He, of course, headlines UFC 200 in less than a month against Jon Jones. And he was in New Orleans yesterday for a big homecoming. This is something that has meant a lot to him over the years. This is something that he has wanted. And you have to think that this gave him a little extra boost as he heads into UFC 200. So he went to New Orleans yesterday, met with a bunch of fans, inspired him, got him all emotional. Now he's in New York doing media, and tomorrow he is heading to ESPN to do more media, but he is kind enough to join us for a few minutes on the phone before his media day resumes here in New York City. Daniel, are you there?
I don't know how to use this shit, huh?
Daniel Cormier, are you there?
Guys, calm down. Guys, calm down. Hold on, guys, calm down. Do you not see that I am on the phone right now?
Sir, we really need to go.
Hey, sir, yeah, we really got to drive. This New York traffic is it's really something else. And you know, I try to wait for it. Wani, can you hear me?
DC, I can hear you just fine.
Hey, wait for it. You see me in here holding court.
Look at you.
I'm in here holding court. You know, I mean, you know, it's just this champion lifestyle. You know, having to make sure everything is in order.
Yeah.
As my coach Rosendo fills his little face with sushi, fresh out of the New York corner market. You know, I have to make sure that he is quiet, you know?
Sure. And as a matter of fact, you may be just a block or two away from me right now. We are finally in the same. We've always talked about being in the same city, doing the show with you in studio, and now here you are, yet you couldn't squeeze us in. But I'm not going to hold you to it. I know you wanted to be
I'll
here.
I'll tell you this right now. I would love to have made Fighter versus Writer in person
Yes.
come to reality, but, you know, Paige has insisted that we do this on the phone.
That's fine. I appreciate the time. So DC, tell me, yesterday, you finally go back home, you get that homecoming in Louisiana. What was it like for you?
It was great, Hawani, man. We did this on 2 days. You know, 2 days, everything was finalized, and we started blasting out some social media stuff, and it was packed. It was so full. So many people showed up to take pictures, get autographs. The GameStop appearance was full. Buffalo Wild Wings was tremendously packed. It was great, man, to feel the love. It was like a great emotional boost as I head into this last few weeks of training for this big fight, man. It was exactly what I needed, honestly.
Really? Why was it important for you to do this?
You know, man, it's part of my journey. You know, this is my journey, man. This is my journey and my career. And being a part of something so big, UFC 200, I wanted to make sure that my state got to be involved in some way, shape, or form. Would have loved to have like a press conference or something there, but not enough time. And for what we had and what we were able to work with, I thought it worked out great. But now the people in Louisiana got to see me, the guy from there, their champion, before I go into this huge event. So I feel like they were a part of the journey, man. It's my state, and I love it.
Was there an interaction, a story, a person that came up to you that kind of blew you away, someone that you knew from, you know, when you were a little kid? Was there something that happened that really made the day special for you?
You know, I've got a lot of family, and they all came down. Like maybe 70 of my family members came down from Lafayette yesterday, and they all just sat in Buffalo Wild Wings, and everybody just ate and talked and hung out. But one thing that really touched me was this guy and his wife and their friend. They came up with their tickets and all of their stuff, and they were like, DC, look, we know that there's a line. We know there's a lot of people, so it's hard to sign everything. But we went to see you at the Fan Expo last summer, and the line was too long. We didn't get in. They said, we've been to Houston for your fight. We've been to Vegas when you fought Jones the first time. We were in Vegas when you won the last fight against Rumble when you won the belt. They say, we've been following you forever. And, you know, just you being able to come home, it's so great. And they said, we know we can't ask you to sign everything, but if you could sign whatever you can, it would be great. And I was like, yeah. It was like, honestly, Daniel, we're your biggest supporters. And they said, could you sign these first? and they showed me their UFC 200 tickets, row A,
Wow.
seat 2, 3, and 4. So they bought the most expensive tickets
Wow.
in the arena in Las Vegas to make sure they could be there and watch my crowning moment. You know, when I beat Jon Jones and shut up all the naysayers and everything and all the doubters. So they made sure that they bought whatever they spent the most that they could in order to be in attendance as my journey is complete, you know. So it just meant a lot seeing people from home that have followed every step of the way and are willing to go whatever lengths to be there and be there close. They said, we'll be the crazy Cajuns yelling and screaming at them right next to the octagon.
That's amazing.
That was great.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was great.
So now here you are in New York, kind of Jon Jones territory, although he's from upstate New York. What kind of reception? Because you're doing the big dogs here, the mainstream media, all that stuff. What kind of reception? Are you feeling like they're pro Jones? Are they treating you like the champ? What kind of reception are you getting from these folks?
They've been treating me well, man. You know, I did Opie, and it's not Opie and Anthony, but it's not Anthony anymore. But I did that show this morning, and we had a great time. The show interview was supposed to be 10 minutes. We went 45 minutes just chit-chatting, talking. But we had a tremendous time. I told him about my schoolyard bully. And the guy goes, wow, you're about to fight Jon Jones, and all I can think about is Gilbert Francis, the guy that's 99-1 against you in your career. And we hung out, and he said, I became an instant fan. He goes, you're a really nice guy. Tiki and Tierney, those guys were great, and they've all been nothing but nice. You know, man. Everybody. I've got this Hot 97. I've gotten one statement many times as I've done this media, Ariel, and they're all like, John's a great guy. They go, but every time we're around him, it seems as though he's holding something back. It's like they said everybody kind of feels as if he's holding something back. They're not exactly sure what it is, but they said they don't feel as though they're getting the complete John. And they said with me, they don't feel that. They feel like I'm being 100% just open in me, and they really appreciate me for it.
How many times in the last day or so have you been asked if Jon Jones is truly balls deep in your head? How many times do you get that question?
I've been asked that so many times. It's great. It's actually great because he goes and says some of the weirdest things ever. But he really, honestly, man, it really is like, and I am part of it too. But we really are like 12-year-old kids with the insults. The level of insult is just terrible. I mean, we've got to be able to do better. Like, John, your balls deep in my head. Is that the best you could think of? Like, really? But, Ariel, I would tell you 100% confidence. Jon Jones is not deep in my head. The fact that he actually thinks that, it makes me smile every day because you could tell in his novel, because he's deep in my head, but he's the one writing novels about me in response to anything I do. In his novel, you could sense his smile. He's walking around with his chest poked out like, I've really gotten to this guy. Come on, buddy. You really have.
Are you okay? Bless you.
Yep. Excuse me.
I'm not sure if that was a sneeze or a cough.
That was a sneeze, but that's what men do. We always keep you off base. You don't know if I'm sneezing or coughing. That's some real manly stuff right there.
Is it fair to say that you are a different person than going into 182? Because even you joking and being able to talk about the feud and whether or not he's in your head, it feels different than I remember going to your hotel room. Now we're talking fight week, a couple of days before the fight in January of last year, and it felt like everyone was kind of on edge. This was such a big deal for you, and you had been preparing so long for it, and this was the war to settle the score and all that stuff. How have you tried not to put that kind of pressure on yourself and not make it into a bigger deal this time around?
Ariel, when you came and you sat down with me and you sat down with John, honestly, still to this day, I think it's some of your best work because you got both perspectives from inside the rooms, behind the battle lines, and in my room, it was pretty somber. The guys were quiet. Everybody, you could feel the excitement, but you could feel the expectation of something so big coming. But then when I watched you and John, I saw him at ease. And I think that's the difference And our mentalities as we headed into that fight, he was at ease. He had been there before. This was nothing new. This was a big fight, sure, but he had 8 of those. He had 9 of those big fights. I didn't have fights like that before. I was up in my chair. I was up on the stool. He was laying on the couch, just so relaxed. That's me today. There's no worry on my behalf. There's no, wow, I could become the UFC champion. I already am. I've done that. I just got to go defend that now. I'm a different guy. Man. I don't let this rivalry drive me anymore. I'm letting competition drive me. And when competition drives me, I don't feel like anybody can compete with me. And that's why I feel so confident going into this fight. But you're right. I'm a different guy. And I'm mentally at the best place that I've been in a really long time.
It was interesting to watch you cage side and in the cage after Luke Rockhold's loss to Michael Bisping. Obviously, you were hurting for your friend, and you guys are very close, and you've been through a lot together. What does that do for you mentally a month before your fight, to see your friend as champion lose the belt, go through all of that? How does that affect you in either way, positive or negative, before your fight?
It's very negative. I care tremendously about the guy, and right after the fight, we were standing there, and we were kind of talking as he was taking off his gloves, and I said, don't worry about it. I was like, don't worry about it. You lost a fight. You'll get it back. What else can you say to a guy that's worked so long for something, and then he gets knocked out in the first round of a rematch? So it was very hard for me because I really do care about him. He's my friend. He's one of my best friends in the world. And it was tough to watch. But reality is, you also think to yourself, that's not going to be me. I've got to make sure to do everything that ensures that I don't lose this title. We work so hard for these positions that we're in, and watching him go out like that was tough.
As the face, as the captain of AKA, do you now feel more pressure? You guys went from maybe talking about 4 champions in 2016. There's currently 1 left, and that's you. Are you thinking to yourself, I have to win this now for my team, for the morale of the team?
Nah, man. This is the thing about the American Kickboxing Academy. We've been without UFC champions before. This is all lately. Kane was the first guy from our team to ever win a belt. So we've been winning all these titles because everybody's gotten better. There's no pressure from my coaches saying we can't be a gym with no champions. That's not the issue. They care about me and making sure I compete to the best of my ability. And if I do that, they know I'll win the fight. So I don't have any extra pressure in that sense, but I do feel like I want to represent my academy and my team to the best of my ability and win for them. Nobody does that to me. I would only do that to myself if there was pressure. But there is no pressure. There is no pressure because I am confident and I know and secure in the training and the preparation that we've put in. I'm good, Ariel. I've got all my bases covered, man. I have the greatest coaching staff in the world. I say that without any questions. Ariel, I have a coach in every phase of my life right now. I have a mental coach. I see a therapist to help me with my preparation. Everything that I need to do, I am doing. So I feel good in my space right now. I'm not worried about anything.
Last week on this show, I went on a bit of a rant about the way that they are promoting this fight. And I said that they are dropping the ball in the sense that this could be the very first time, or it is the very first time in UFC history where it's number 1 versus number 2 pound for pound. Not only are you fighting for the UFC light heavyweight title, but you are fighting for the title of best fighter in the world. And it baffles my mind that Daniel Cormier isn't considered the number 2 best pound for pound fighter in the world. Now, of course, we have to concede that Jon Jones beat you fair and square at UFC 182, but you're the lone guy that was up there at heavyweight, higher weight class, undefeated, probably could have been champion, but didn't go for the belt because your friend was the champion at the time. And then you go down and beat guys in their prime like Rumble Johnson, Alexander Gustafsson, Dan Henderson, look how he's doing. And yet you're not considered number 2. This to me is baffling. Do you think about these things? I know fighters say about the rankings, all that stuff, but come on, how is this not number 1 versus number 2? And more importantly, how is it not being promoted as such? Do you think about this?
Man, I never used to. But now as I've gotten older and I look at it, I'm like, man, it does kind of suck that whoever does the rankings don't pay attention to what I've done and also what I've done in regards to other people that are ranked ahead of me. Now this is not a personal attack on any person in these rankings that are above me. But if you go back and you really look at guys' careers outside of their weight divisions, no one's really done it like I did.
Yeah.
I was undefeated at the division above me and then went down and became the champion. Love Robbie Love. But Robbie's the champ at 170, but when he was up at 185, he has losses to guys like Lorenz Larkin and so on and so much. Conor McGregor, another guy who's a tremendous fighter at 145, he's up a weight class, and he has lost to Nate Diaz. But not only Nate Diaz, he's also lost to Joe Duffy. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if he's lost 3 fights or 2 fights in his career, but whatever that the case is, he's lost multiple times at the division above him, whereas I was undefeated. I'm the only guy that's done it at 2 divisions and been successful at both. I only lost to Jones, who is considered by many the pound-for-pound #1 fighter and maybe the greatest fighter of all time. So I don't know where it gets lost on people, my accomplishments and the things that I've done in the sport, but whatever. You just keep proving them wrong until they can't ignore it anymore. Because once I beat this guy on July 9th, I don't expect to be number 2 behind Demetrius Johnson. I want to be number 1 pound for pound. And if I'm not, I'm just going to go around the country kicking reporters' ass.
You should. It's unbelievable to me. Really, it feels like a crime. Do you have any idea why people seem to miss this? Is it because you won the belt when he was out? Like, you were legitimately undefeated as a heavyweight. You beat Josh Barnett, Frank Mir, Roy Nelson, to name a few. I mean, those are no slouches. Those are former champions. Well, why do you think this is?
The crazy thing is, when I beat Antonio Silva, he was ranked number 4 in the world. When I beat Josh Barnett, he was ranked number 4 in the world. When I beat Roy Nelson, he was number 7, and I was number 3 or something like that. When I beat Frank Mir, he had just fought for the belt to fight right before me. Then when I beat Dan Henderson, he was number 6. I was number 4. Then obviously Rumble Johnson was number 1. Alexander Gustafsson number 2. I've got a lot of wins in the top 10 of 2 divisions. So I really don't know. I don't know if my wins don't resonate enough because I'm not just knocking guys flat. I really don't know. I don't know what it is as to why I've been looked at in the way that I have. I mean, I saw some rankings recently, and I'm behind. I mean, I'm behind a lot of guys that I feel if pound for pound was what it's meant to be, a guy whose skills translates weight divisions, I feel I should be way up higher. But what's it matter, really?
Right. 2 last quick things, and I'll let you go because I know you have to go. What was your reaction when you found out that Brock Lesnar was going to be on the same card as you? I mean, this has to help, right? Were you freaking out? What was your reaction to this news?
So I started to ask everyone when I heard about it. I got it from a pretty reliable source. You know who that guy is. Anyway, I got it from a pretty reliable source. I usually trust if it's on from the guy that wrote the article. I trust that he knows what he's talking about. But Brock, I was like, hey, Brock, is it Christmas time in the Cormier household? Because Brock Lesnar equals pay-per-view buys.
Yes.
And he didn't respond. And then finally, after the commercial ran, I got a response from Brock that said, Merry Christmas, DC.
Wow.
And I was like, you got to be kidding me. Yeah. So I went and I was like, I had to take a moment, went and sit in the corner a little bit and try to compose myself before Rocco went out and fought.
Wow.
It's tremendous, man. It's a big event. You got Brock Lesnar, who, I mean, you can argue is the biggest star in UFC history. And I believe you have the most important fight that the UFC can put on right now. Love Nate, love Conor. It's a huge fight. But what's it for? It's not for a belt. It's not going to lead to a title shot. It's the fight that people just want to see because it's an attraction. When it comes to Jon and I, you have the most important fight the UFC can put on at the most important event.
Well said. Last thing. True or false? True or false now, okay? Draymond Green deserved to be suspended for Game 5.
Man, since I have long been a diehard Warriors fan, I'm going to say no. But ask me in 2 games, if the Cavs win the next couple games and we're going 3-3 in the Game 7 between my 2 favorite teams in the NBA, the answer may be a little different. Helwani, I got to ask you a question, man.
Yeah.
I get a lot of crap for being a bandwagon jumper, but why not? What's wrong with liking a winner? I don't understand the issue with liking a winner. Why would you not want to feel good? Don't people like to feel good? When my teams win championships, I feel good, so I ensure that 4 times a year, the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, and Major League Baseball, I get to feel good at the end of the season. I see nothing wrong with that.
I couldn't agree more. Well, and especially as a father, you want your kids to be happy as well. You want to teach them right and wrong. Why have them root for a loser?
Exactly. My kids will know, wow, every spring Dad's extremely happy because one of his NBA teams won. And then in the winter, Dad's super happy his favorite football team won. It just goes on and on and on. I mean, I don't understand why everybody's not bandwagon jumping all over every major league sport there is. I don't get it.
You're a smart man. Well said.
Exactly.
DC, thank you for squeezing me in, man. I appreciate it very much.
Hey, thank you, man. And listen, great job last week.
Thank you.
Refreshing to see a guy lay it all out on the line and really let people in. I think that's probably the most candid interview and the deepest look into our sport that most people will ever get. So, congratulations, man. Very happy for you and very proud of you.
Thank you very much for that. It means a lot, and thank you for tweeting about it early on. Given your standing in the sport, that meant more than you know. So I appreciate it very much, DC, and I really appreciate you coming on, and I can't wait for July 9th, and I'm very happy that I'll be there because I told you that's where I wanted to be, July 9th in Vegas when you defend the title against Jon Jones. So I sincerely appreciate it, my man. Thank you so much.
Hey, man, you are one lucky human being to be there as I get my hand raised.
Thanks, man.
Congratulations, bud.
Enjoy the rest of the
day.
Thank you.
You made it.
Thank you, DC. Talk to you soon. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
There he is, Daniel Cormier, the one and only. A great man, a great champion, and we all look forward to that score being settled. At least, if he wins the second one, you have to think there's going to be a third fight.